The way I like to work these seminars is like a workshop, okay? I'm here for you guys, and I want to get the best out of it for you guys. And the best way to do that is if you guys ask as many questions as you have. And of course, for the people at home, you can ask some of the questions they want to hear as well. I teach very conceptually. There's a reason why. If you look at jiu-jitsu, and when I first started jiu-jitsu in 2008, and I was learning different techniques, and I realized, man, how many techniques there really are. And I couldn't remember them. So I would practice the technique, I would drill it, and then we would go into live training, and I could barely remember it. I found it really hard to remember techniques. So when I was about blue belt level, I started trying to figure out what was the common theme that made these techniques work. For example, if you're sweeping, what are the principles behind sweeping? And then I started figuring out those principles, and then I realized that, hey, I didn't need to learn so many techniques. All I needed to do was internalize the principles, which is the concept, and then I could create a sweep wherever I was. And that was a blue belt, and it changed my whole game from then on in. From then on, I sort of tended to move away from the drilling side of things. And not saying, when I say the drilling, I mean the stationary, static repetition of a move. And because I was at the level a little bit higher then, I could use new students as well to practice on them. That was kind of like what my drilling was, but everything was live. I went more towards live training. And it really made a big difference in my game. I went from white belt to black belt in about 4 years. And not just, just black belt, I was competing at black belt level against the best guys in the world as well. And the same philosophy on training has been adopted by many other people, but it's very fresh or raw in jiu-jitsu because most people that do it don't talk about it. And most people that come up with this idea of training used it in different areas. Okay, Bruce Lee was talking about that and when he was doing the Jeet Kune Do, way of the intercepting fist. A lot of other high-level martial artists have used it. And I'm also using that in wrestling at the moment. I started wrestling about 2 years ago, not like competitive wrestling. I've done one wrestling match, but for jiu-jitsu. But my level in what I've done with wrestling is apparent to the Division I wrestlers I've been working with of saying it's incredible how much I've picked up in a small amount of time. And I feel like it's because of the philosophy of the way I learn that really helps. I'm not like anything special. I'm like everyone. I can't do homework. There's a lot of things I struggle with. But when I apply myself in this way, I seem to learn a lot better than just doing the static stuff. So today what we're going to look at is guard passing. Guard passing is one of the most fundamental things in jiu-jitsu. It's one of the most important things, and especially for no-gi, it's super important. It's very different to gi. Okay, when I say very different, it's not very different. It's like the ugly cousin. You need to know how to use that without having grips. So many of us rely on grips with a gi and guard passing, and when you don't have the grips, we become lost. The same as when we're working our guard, we become lost with trying to sweep someone. We don't have something to grab. So what I really want to give you today is my best concepts, my ideas on how I pass the guard. Passing guard is probably my favorite thing, and I'm probably better at passing guard than I am at anything else. And I've trained with some of the best guys in the world, and I would rate my guard passing as high as you can get, along with the top guys in the world at the moment. And I think my philosophy on guard passing is what makes it so effective. Because I'm very hard to predict what I'm going to do, because I don't even know what I'm going to do half the time. It's funny, I make half the stuff up, but I understand the concepts and the principles of what I'm trying to follow, and I know how to execute that at the right moment. So what I'm going to give you today is what I'm thinking. If I can give you guys what I'm thinking, it's so much better, because the best thing in jiu-jitsu, the most important thing in jiu-jitsu is timing. And timing is basically deception. It's doing what your opponent not least expects you to do, but doesn't expect you to do at least. You can do something as least expected as ridiculous. You might cartwheel yourself out. He didn't expect that, but it's not going to get you any further through passing the guard. We want to do what they least expect that's going to get the job done. To do that, you can't be predictable. To do that, you have to learn how to change the application. If you do the same technique all the time, people are going to start figuring that out. How many times have you trained with someone and you realize they do the same guard pass over and over again, and then you start figuring that out and you know how to shut their game down? There's a lot of guys that are like that, and they're what you call a specialist. And you see this in competition where they've got their like 1 or 2 moves that they hit on everyone. But then after a while you start figuring that out and you can start shutting them down. They still might be a black belt world champion because it's very hard to recognize that in such a short period. You know, we train jiu-jitsu like it's a marathon, and then we compete like it's a sprint, you know what I mean? We come and we train for an hour and a half, and then we go compete for 5 or 6 minutes. And it's very hard. It's like, imagine a game of tennis finishing in the first game. That'd be ridiculous. You see, does anyone follow tennis here? I don't know if it's big in the States. You see that you might win the first couple games, and then, you know, by the end of it, the whole thing changes around. Once you get comfortable and you figure each other out. So that's the jiu-jitsu I like to teach, is more about a strategist, someone that can take you out of your comfort zone, someone that can learn how to read someone and completely deconstruct what they're doing. That's the jiu-jitsu that I like, the problem solving. So, with guard passing, Hector, can I borrow you for a minute? They're the same size as me. Can I jump in the back? So, you're passing the guard, and it could be any guard, it could be sitting here. What are some of the thoughts that are going through your head? What are you looking at trying to achieve? Pass his feet? Anyone else? Or what happened? What after passing his feet? Control? Yeah. Awesome. Do you have any thoughts on your posture as well?
Squat and not crunched over.
Squatting? So like this? Not crunched over? Not leaning in?
I make mistakes of like leaning in.
Yeah.
Triangle.
Yeah.
Not feet up in the shoulders.
Yep. So let's start with posture first, because it's probably the more important thing, because before I even go into his guard, I want to think about my posture. If I'm really high and I'm over the top like this and I'm reaching in and my legs are really high and stuff like that, is this good? No. Because I'm leaving too much space, aren't I? He can get underneath me, pull me over the top, put me in single leg X or X guard. This is a bad situation for me. I don't want to have that kind of space here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go nice and low. Okay? I want to take away his ability to get underneath me. Because, if you guys can see, the higher I am, the easier it is for him to get a De La Riva. For him to get a De La Riva, he wants me about here. And see, he can use this as an outside De La Riva, he can go to an inside De La Riva. This is a good handle for him. He can stretch me out, he can pull me forward, he can block me, he can attack me. I don't want him to have these abilities. Okay, so the first thing I do, and just without Hector there, I'm going to show you without him there, I sit here. Okay, and I try and sit as low on my heel as I can so that there is no De La Riva there now. Sometimes it might be uncomfortable, some people have got different genetics. You might have bad knee like me, so I don't use this now, I just bend down on this one. But now if I come in here and he tries to get a De La Riva, there's no space there for a De La Riva at all. If anything, he's only going to overcommit and then give me the ability to start passing his leg. The other leg, I keep pretty far back. I'm not going to squat both legs like this, because then if he bumps me one way, I'm going to fall over. I need one leg out as balance, but I don't want to, if I'm coming in here, I don't want to sit it too close to him, because what will happen, he'll attack that. I have it strategically placed, just not too far back here, just far enough back that if he were to try and reach from here, I would not only be able to block that, but I would be able to attack him as well. As he's reaching, he gives me a lot of space to cross face, because before that, no doubt, he's probably blocking the cross face, because this is a really good position for me. So the moment he reaches through, he gives me this kind of stuff, and then I can start trying to pass as well. So I have it back far enough that if he was to reach underneath there, I would not only be able to defend it and pull it back, but I would be able to attack. He would make space for me. My elbows are nice and tight in here. I don't want them flared up if you're sitting forward. I don't want them flared up like this, because what can you do? Boom. Arm drags. If I was even here or something, you could go omoplatas or whatnot, or duck unders. There's a lot of options there. It's the same as wrestling. When I'm wrestling, you don't want to be out like here, because it gives them too much handles. I'm in nice and tight here. My hands are forward. Why? To hand fight. You know, if he's trying to attack me doing things, I want to be able to hand fight as well. But I'm protecting the underhooks as much as I can. Now I've protected the De La Riva. This leg's far enough back that if he was going to attack, I'd be able to defend there. My elbows are tucked in, so there's no underhooks or overhooks there. My head's up. I'm not too low. If I'm too low, he can put me in and guillotine me. It's very dangerous. And my back is not too bent like this, because it's not strong. If he pulls my head down now, I'm going to fall over. Okay, it's the same as wrestling. You don't go too far like that, because they pull your head. It's very hard to get your back there. You want a nice straight back. So the posture we're going to start in is like this. You can change it a little bit to suit your body, and I'm going to get you guys to play around with this in a second to feel comfortable, but it's basic like that. However you do it, it's up to you. But the main thing is you want to protect your leg from a de la riva. The old combat base, which is this, I don't like so much. It's too light on the leg. He can grab my leg now and pull it right out, and it's going to come straight forward. The reason why I like it under here, even if he were to get my leg now and try and pull this out, it's very heavy because my weight's sitting on top of it. So essentially, for him to get my leg out, he needs to pull my leg through the ground, which means he needs to pull me off the ground, which means I'm going to be quite heavy. So I sit on there, it takes away his ability to do that. So I call this like, this is like the new combat base that I think is really important. You can even do it like this as well. I like to have this out here because it's very easy for me to change levels. If I wanted to do something really crazy straight away, like cartwheel pass, I can do it. If I want to run around him, I've got good agility. The other thing is, when I'm in this position, I don't get in this position this far back and then try and move in there. People have done this, they're like, kid, it's hard to move like that. Of course it's hard, you're not a frog. You don't need to be this far back. Think about it like in MMA. If we're both standing up and he's 2 meters back, I don't need to be stuck like this, do I? I'm just gonna be holding unnecessary energy. I can be very loose, I can be down here. When we come into range, then I bring it up. Exact same thing when he's in his guard. I'm walking around like this. And when I step into range, then I come low. And this is what I'll do. I'll be walking around here. You'll see when we do specific training later. And then I'll come in, I'll step in. And I'm in the position now. I'm quite close to him too. Or I can be further back and be here. Does that make sense? Now, what we're gonna do, you've got about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm gonna get you guys to go out on your own, grab a partner, and I want you to find a comfortable combat base, you call it, advanced combat base. And just get used to this and just address this, and then we're gonna come back in, we're gonna go a bit further. Okay, any questions on this so far? Okay, we're gonna clap on 3. 1, 2, 3, go. Good. So this is...
You had your hand on the outside, huh?
On the outside? I always try and get on the outside for sure. I don't want to get arm dragged across, but you don't even have to make, you've made a connection now. It's more, this is more just like the common posture, like your stance. So I would even make it before she gets to de la riva. Now it'd be harder for her to de la riva. So I'd sort of step into it. Now, now you're nice and low. And now you can start doing it. See, she's got to reach now to do anything, which means these are where the openings come. Good. With that posture, like I said, you can take that and try and change it to suit yourself. Some people got really bad knees where they don't like sitting on that. So if you've got really bad knees, what I do is I'd be more like this. And it may take a little bit of time to get flexible in doing that, but I would move more like that. I just don't want him to have access to my legs. Too many guys, they come in too high up and they get their legs attacked straight away. And the thing with jiu-jitsu, no-gi jiu-jitsu especially, it's very hard to sweep someone just on the arms alone. You don't have sleeves to grab. You can't use a spider guard. So a lot of the time what you're trying to do is you're trying to set up to get underneath their legs and tie their legs up and come up with a single leg or X guard or single leg X. That's where you see most people get swept in no-gi jiu-jitsu. So as a passer, the last thing I want to do is give him really good control of my legs. I might bait him in a little bit. I don't want to give him good control. So that's why I say either have your legs down so if they're in range, they're protected, or if you can't have them like that, stand more like this. But then the hand fighting becomes really important. And being able to move your legs as well, because he's going to try and catch these legs. I need to be able to move these and move around. So this brings us to the next part. What are we trying to do to pass the guard? Now we heard before, pass the legs, and then consolidate, close the distance. So what we're looking at here is we pass the legs somehow like this, and then I need to consolidate, and I hold him here. Okay, it's a very basic form of passing the guard. Does that make sense to everyone? The problem in that is it's too obvious. Everyone that has a guard or sitting in guard is expecting that. And the moment you start trying to pass their legs, and I'm here, what does he start doing with his hands? Framing. Framings are hard to deal with in no-gi especially. I don't have, gis to grab. Might grab his nipples and pull myself in, but that's not, I don't advise that kind of stuff. I don't have that ability, so it's hard for me to break the frames. It's not impossible, but it just means I'm doing the things the hard way. With passing guard, passing the legs is the easiest part to do. It really is. You see this all the time. People come in, throw legs out of the way, but they struggle to consolidate because it's hard to break those frames. What I suggest is going a different route. Now we think of, I call it reverse psychology, but it's a little bit different than the reverse psychology I usually get, which is usually getting kids to do things for me. Like if I want a kid to wash the dishes, I'm not going to say, can you wash the dishes? I say, I bet you can't wash those dishes. And they go, yeah, I'll show you, and starts washing the dishes. I'm like, thank God. What I want to do is I want to confuse him by going in reverse. Most people think I'm going to try and pass the leg straight away, but I'm going to start trying to consolidate and close the distance on his upper body straight away. Then when I feel like that he can't push me away, when I feel like he's not going to be able to frame and push me off, then I start passing the legs. And it's so much more effective because what happens is generally people let you get control of their upper body. Now I'm going to show you how I do that. The first step is I just pass the feet. I don't pass the legs. The reason why I just pass the feet first is because the feet are the longest range weapon that he has. If he has his feet on my hips or something here and he can push me away, he has the ability to push me away, I'm way out of a range. I can't attack right now. I would have to go to the old way of passing the guard. What I want to do is I want to get past the feet. I don't want him to have any kind of platform to push me back on. If I'm here and he's got his feet on my hips, this is bad for me. If he's got his foot on here, this is bad. Anything that can push me back. Certain things are not going to be so bad. Like if he's pushing my arm and he goes to kick my arm back, it's not going to really do much. I'm going to come off. So I don't need to worry about everything. But I like to try and get past his feet. A good way to do that is usually just stepping past him here. I don't mind if he's got a hook. That's fine. I just don't want him to push me back. So this hook's fine, but if he puts this here, this is bad. Okay? Here's all right. If he tries to push me back with his knees, I'm not going to go that far back. His knees aren't that long, but his feet are. Does that make sense? So the first thing I'm trying to do is get past his feet. If his feet are up here, I might just grab him and just step over the top. But once I pass the feet, to stay past there, what I do is I hold his knees here, or his thighs. Because I know for him to get this leg back in, what's going to happen with this knee? Bring that leg back in. Foot, sorry. Yeah, see what happens back there? We go slow motion again. So you want to put that on my chest, okay? You go, yes. See, his knee has to go forward. So I know if I block these here, and you try and get your feet to push me back now, nothing's going to happen. So the first thing I do is wherever it is, if it's here, I step over the top, I can step over both of them, but I hug his thighs now. As long as his legs don't go further past here, he's not going to get his feet back in. And the only reason I don't want to get his feet back in is because I don't want him to push me right back. If he gets a foot back in, no matter how good my grips are in no-gi, he's going to push me back. So the first thing I want to do is make sure he doesn't have any platform to stretch me back on. Does that make sense? The next thing I'm going to do is more of a psychological thing. If I start threatening to pass his legs right now, what do you think he's going to start doing? Yeah? Who said flipping out? Did you say freaking out or flipping out? Flipping out? Hipping out, sorry. So he's going to be trying to hip escape. What's he going to do with his arms? Frame. And what don't I want him to do? Frame. It's hard to break the frames. And it's like, in MMA, it's like you can't knock someone out while they're sitting there defending like this. You may land some soft shots on them, but you're going to spend so much energy. It's the shot you don't see coming that knocks you out. And I want to use the same principle with this. I don't want him to see that I'm trying to stretch and, I can force my will on him, but I'm going to use so much energy and it may not even work. What I want to do is I want to make him feel comfortable. I want to make him, drop his hands, so to speak. So what I do is I sit here and I wait. And I sit here and I look around as if I've got no way of passing. I'll give a solution. I'll sit here and I'll be like, if I was in a comp, I'd look at my coach and I'd be like, you know what I mean? And he starts thinking, he doesn't know how to pass here. Okay, maybe his legs aren't in danger. So then he goes from sitting there and worrying about defending or framing, and he starts thinking, well, I might start attacking now. So when he starts thinking about attacking or grabbing or getting some control of me, he starts reaching in differently now. So maybe he starts reaching, look what he just gave me, an underhook. And an underhook is the best weapon of guard passing at the moment. The most common guard pass is a knee cut guard pass. The most common form of knee cut is with an underhook. And you can pass many different ways with an underhook, and especially when it comes to no gi, because like I said, you don't have the gi to grip. So the underhook is the best weapon I can get. And what did he do? He just gave it to me. So we're sitting here, I'm making him feel calm, and then he starts reaching up. There's that underhook. Doesn't have to be like the traditional high underhook here. It can be a low underhook as well. But either way, what this does is it gives me the ability to stick to him. I know when I've got this one underhook here, it's very hard for him to push me away now. He's going to have to deal with his underhook. And now I've got good control of him here. So I've got this one underhook here. And now it's going to be harder for him to push me back. So he keeps going, and maybe I get more control. Maybe I've got an overhook on this arm now. Now the best thing about what I've got now is it's really hard for him to push me back. If he tries to stretch me away and push me away, it's hard. I'm sticking to him. It doesn't mean that he can't. He may be able to. He may push me back and end up back here and have to start again. But I do the same thing. I wait and I sit here. And the positions may change. You might go to Z guard here at the moment now. But my whole thing is to try and get to the same thing. I want to try and get control of him. To do that, I need him to feel comfortable. If he feels like I'm going to pass straight away, he's just going to be framing and he's not going to let me get close to him. It's going to be really difficult. So I wait and I play around and I sit here and I look like I've got nothing, and then he starts reaching for me. However he wants to reach. He could reach here, and look what he just gave me under here. And underhook on this side. It doesn't mean that, you know, I'm in a really good spot to have an underhook. This could be bad for me as well, because I've essentially given away my post, which means I can get swept that way. If I'm smart, I know with this underhook, I'm going to move my body this way. So I have an underhook on this side, I start moving over here. And now I'm in a really good spot with this underhook. And now, once I feel like I've got to the position where he's not going to be able to push me off of him, now I start trying to pass the legs. And it may feel like it's a little bit hard because my hands are up here, but I tell you what, it's twice as hard for him to stop. Because look where he's stuck here, he's pinned here. So I'm here, I'm nice and tight, and then I start trying to pass the legs, and I pass. I do this pass with everyone. The application's always different because it depends on who he is, but I do that same thing, that same principle. So if he was sitting forward here, I'd be coming here, I just sit past his legs. He hasn't got anything to push me back on, so it doesn't matter. And I hold the legs and I wait. And I sit here and I might even hand fight with him for a little bit. And the purpose of me hand fight is because I want to get, most likely my favorite thing is to get is an underhook or a crossface or some control of his upper body. Does that make sense? So I'm here, we're playing around, I'm sort of waiting, and then here, bang, I get that underhook again. Once I get to the point where I feel like, okay, this is when I'm going to, like he can't push me away now. If I feel like he can't, then I start passing. If I feel like he can push me off, I'll wait. Maybe he pushes me off, I'll wait again. And then I wait away and I get this again. Now I'm here, and let's say I'm here, I'm like, yeah, he can't push me away now. Now I start passing the legs. And like I said, it can be difficult for you to do because most of us are so used to passing with our hands and by tying up the legs and then trying to pass, but you'll get better and better at doing it. And it's a much more effective way. I'll show you reasons why in a second when you guys go out and practice that, of why it's so much better than controlling the legs. But I'll let you guys work that out for the moment anyway. So this could be anything. It could be a De La Riva here. If I'm in a De La Riva, what leg do I have to worry about him stretching me out with? Here. So I've got to kill this. I just pull it up. Okay? He might bring it back in, try and push me back in, and I just guide it away. I don't need to hold it really tight. All I'm trying to do is either push it above or over under my leg. If you try to push me back now, I go over. He comes in, keep trying to push the leg back. See what I mean? It's not much energy. I'm just misdirecting it until I get to the point where I can hold both here. This leg might bother me a little bit, so I might just flick it off and get here. And now I'm holding this position again. And I'm waiting to get these underhooks or at least good control of the upper body. So I hold this position, and maybe it's here, and I just keep here. And now I've got good control. Whoa. I start passing. So that is the way. Can you still hear me, brother? Put it in my underwear. That is the way I like to pass a guard. And it works so well because it's so misleading and deceiving. Because they're so worried about me passing the legs, and when they feel like there's no danger, I'm not trying to pass the legs, a lot of the time they start reaching out and trying to get a hold of me. And then I get control of them. And then by the time they realize what's happened, it's too late. I'm already on top of them, I've got good control, and I start passing the legs. Any questions on that?
I have one question. Do you feel like you're using less energy by squatting on your foot and trying to hand fight them right away and pass the feet? Because you can control your body weight?
No, I don't, because it's so much. Sorry, do you mean when? So you're saying for me
versus the traditional way of passing?
Yeah, no, I feel like it's much more easier this way.
Right. So you're not burning as much energy.
No.
So tense.
No, because you're running around, you're moving around, you're trying to work more on speed to try and pass, because you know it's predictable and he knows it's coming, so you're trying to be quicker than what he is.
So as soon as he makes a mistake, then you grab the clinch and then you can move past the feet.
Yeah, from the way I do it.
Right.
Yeah. I'm the laziest dude you're going to find.
So you're going to conserve your energy.
Yeah. If there's an easy way to do it, I'm going to find it, because I hate using any energy. I compete at the World Championships, the most unfit anyone compete doing jiu-jitsu. So I'm trying to find the easiest way to do everything. If I tell you this is easier than traditional, it's because it's easy. You can trust me. But yeah, the other way is it's a lot more athletic, it's a lot more speed-based, because it's a lot more predictable. Everyone knows that's what you're trying to do. So you can do it, but you need to be like super quick and impose your will. And I like to, instead of like, trying to hit him really quick and stuff, I'm trying to do things he least expects. I want him to give me the positions to pass easily on. And once you get used to this and you start getting down, you find how easy guard passing really is. And people just always let you pass because they don't realize they're giving you what you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, any other questions on that before we go and practice it? What I'm going to get you guys to do now is I'm going to get you to get a partner, and I want you to go over that. You can give me any kind of position, but I want you to do that in the 3 steps that I showed. What was the first one? Get past the feet. Why? Because that's their longest weapon. They can always stretch you and push you off. Doesn't mean like a hook's fine, just no platform for him to push me off. Okay? Then what do I want to do after that? But before that, what do I do? Control the legs. And what do I want to give him the impression of? There's no danger. Make him feel comfortable. Okay, how you going? You want a sip of coffee? What's your coffee again? Kingston coffee. Let's have a coffee, chill, relax, and then grab it. So then you get the overhooks. So underneath, play with it a little bit, do a little bit of role playing. So you're underneath. Once they hold your legs, and then I want you to imagine what would you do if you felt comfortable. So you reach up and start looking at how to attack, and then as he does that from underneath, I want you to get control of him. When you feel like you have that control, then try and pass the legs. And I want the person underneath to give you a little bit of resistance, because I want you to have the problems. There's holes in this, and I want you to figure that out so we can go a bit further with this. Does that make sense? Sure. Okay, 1, 2, 3. How do we go with that? Do you understand why I go that approach now? Because it's deceiving. All of jiu-jitsu is deception. All of combat is psychological warfare, is deception. You're trying to confuse your opponent. If I know that my opponent is going to think I'm going to do A and B, then I'm going to try and do C. If he's going to think I'm going to try and do C, I'm going to try and go back to A and B. I'm always trying to change my application of things. But the idea of going the upper body first is because I'm confusing him. I know he thinks I'm going to attack the legs, so I do the opposite. And you get such good success with that. I'm telling you, once you start getting used to that, and it may be hard today because we're all aware of it now, which is always hard, but you get the other people that didn't come to the seminar. Any questions on that? Anyone have any problems?
How do you do it with the butterfly? Because the concept is the same, right? You're hugging the knees and you're chopping the feet. But I feel like if I do it, then they're just gonna end up making it over the top. When I'm trying to reach for the neck, right?
Can you come in and show me the position? I think I know what you're saying. It's good to demonstrate so everyone can see.
So passing between up here, right?
Yep.
And I feel like if I start lifting for stuff, then he can, I can start lifting me.
Yes.
A lot, yeah. So it's not the same pressure.
Perfect question. And it's true, because you are taking a risk. To sweep anyone, you need 2 things. You need to remove their ability to post in a certain direction, and then you need to generate leverage to push them in that area. For example, just like a table as an example, if my opponent takes my ability to post in this direction away, and they can generate leverage to move me here, what's going to happen? I'm going to get swept. So in that situation where he has the ability to generate leverage to move me in that direction, I have to be careful where I let him take away my posts. So he's leaning back, and I'm sitting in here,
and this is the position. I have to be careful that he doesn't have the leverage to move my weight this way. Because if he can, and I can't post out here or here, he can sweep me. Okay, just sit forward for a second. Okay, so he takes me here, and now he pushes me this way. What's going to happen? I'm going to get swept. Okay, so I need to know that. So if they need two things to sweep, if you need two things to sweep anyone, which is removing their ability to post, and then generating leverage to push them in that area, what do I need to do?
Keep one of your posts.
Gotta keep one of them. If I know by holding onto his body, I'm taking away my own ability to post, then what can I not let him have? The leverage to move me that way. So I need to try and remove that. And usually it's only a little bit. Usually it's like the difference between, I'll just wait for that truck to lift. The difference between moving him over the top and not moving is probably this much. So if I am in this position here, and I know that I'm down here, I've taken away my ability to post, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my weight back. So tell me, do you reckon you can lift me now if I was sitting here?
I can start.
You can start. Okay.
Yeah.
Now try and do it. Okay. So I've done two things here. Sorry. One thing is I've adjusted my post a little bit because my post is down here right now. And just by adjusting it a little bit more like that, that means I've just given myself another 20 centimeters. Okay? And I'll show you what I mean by this. If I'm here and I'm hugging on him here, and he pushes me a little bit forward, I can probably go over now. But if I change it to here now look how far he would have to move me forward before I'm going to go over. The same thing happens with how wide my base is. So yeah, you can hold super tight like this. The danger in that is that my base is so small that if he moves me this far, look what happens. I'm going to roll over. I can get the same job done most times by this. By just opening my elbows now. Now look how far you got to take me before I go. Before it's here, look at this. There. Wide, look how far that is. And that's a big difference. It's a big difference in jiu-jitsu having to move them that far than just moving them this far. So sometimes I might get stuck like that in a position where I'm like, oh shit, he's got the leverage to pull me, then I'm going to swap. I'm going to change. Okay, and my rule to balance, or to having a good base, is I do one of three things. I post, I replace the post, or I move my weight back. So whenever I'm passing, that's what I'm always thinking about. If I'm rolling with Hector and he gets a really nice butterfly gun, he takes away my ability to post here. What should my next, I got two options now. Well, I got three options, but let's say my first option's gone. Hold this, right? My first option would be to post, but he's taken away my ability to post. So I have two other options. I can replace the post. Doesn't mean it doesn't come with its own problems. He might come under my leg here, might put me in worse problems, but I can replace it. Or I move my weight backwards. So now I move over here. Now try and take me that way. It's harder. Okay? So you need to think like that, very smart at first. Is this still good, the sound? You need to think very smart like that, where I always have that in my mind. If someone's going to move me that way, I post. If I can't post, I'll either replace the post or I'll move my weight back. If you can do that, you're going to have unbreakable base. There's some people that naturally do that. Okay? And they've got phenomenal bases. Some of us need to learn how to do that first and figure out what's a really good base. Then that'll become automatic. So with all these concepts, what they are, they're like computer programs. At first it takes a little bit of time to load, but then after a while, it loads, it's there, it works automatically. Then you can chuck another computer program on there. So with my concepts start really big. And they get finer and finer and finer until they're very small concepts for very specific areas. But I start very big and I get down to the smaller details. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So now you know that if you are in that area, that you're holding on top of them, you probably are risking getting swept in that direction. So you need to be very smart with the way you distribute your balance or your weight. Bring your weight backwards if you need to. Post a little bit further if you need to. Sometimes with these butterfly sweeps, sometimes I can't post completely, but I can just get this. That's enough. Just that little bit is enough. Can we do it on the other side? Just so sure. My elbow's destroyed right now. Yeah. So if we're here, and he goes to try and sweep me that way, just a little bit of a post is enough. It's not a massive post, but it could be enough. So a tiny little adjustment like that may save me. If I don't, I just sit there, I'm going to go flying over the top, and I'm in trouble. So, what's the rule to have a good base? Post, replace the post, or remove your weight. Does that make sense? That is a really important question. The other thing people have problems with going from the butterfly guard is getting caught in closed guard. And what will happen is they'll get here, they'll go to the butterfly guard, they get past the feet, and they start hugging. Actually, let me get double underhooks. Then they get double underhooks, and what happens is they get pushed into closed guard here. Did this happen to anyone? Okay, so you need to be very smart with that. And the way to stop that is not letting both of his legs out. You can let one of his legs out, but I never let both of his legs out. So if we are here, and I've got control here, and he starts trying to let one out, maybe he gets one out, and now this one gets stuck in here. I don't let this one out. The way to do that is what I do is I lock my elbow and my knee together. I try and keep it nice and tight here. I'm just trying to stop him. If you don't engage your hip flexors here, he's going to stretch your legs out and he's going to go closed guard. But I can do it with both legs here. If I'm holding, even here, try to go closed guard. No, I'm holding nice and strong here. I hold this nice and tight and I keep my hip flexors tensed. So I make sure that I do that. Whenever I'm reaching in here, not only am I trying to keep control of him, but I'm also making sure I don't get stuck in closed guard. Closed guard is the only guard that if you get stuck, you have to break something to pass. And it's usually wind. I try not to get stuck in closed guard at all. I hate it. You know, it's the worst place, especially for no-gi, because it's very hard to, and once you're slippery, it's hard to sort of do anything, and you stand up and you slip over. So I advise making sure that you don't do that. Okay? So, we just talked about first thing, the posture. Second thing, how to deceive your opponent in order to get control of the upper body first, then pass the legs. The third thing is making sure that your base is unbreakable. Post, replace the post, or remove your weight. What was the fourth thing we were just talking about? Make sure you don't get closed guard. Okay? So now what we're going to do is I want you to go out with the opponent. It's only going to be about 4 or 5 minutes. And I want you to get control of him, or he's going to allow you to get control of him, and I want you to try and get the same control with the base as wide as possible this time. So instead of, say I've got double underhooks here, and I'm super tight, but now if he moved me either way, I'm probably going to get swept. Look at this, I'm going to go over here. So if we go back now what I want you to do is I want you to get the same control, but my elbows are out here now. So now try and sweep me. I still got the control here, exact same control, I just don't need to overcommit, sorry. Most times I sweep people is because they overcommit to something. They push too hard for something and they make themselves vulnerable. If you're trying to go overcommit by grabbing them so tight, then you're going to make your base vulnerable. So try and get that base as wide as you can, but still get the same job done. You got about 5 minutes, okay? 1, 2, 3, go. So if we are in those positions, right, and we're here and you start trying to sweep me a certain way, then what I do is I'll go here, right, and then I'll block this. Boom. Get over, stuck. Now lock on here, yeah. This is what I was trained with Rafael Formiga. He's got one of the best sit-up guards in the world. And every time he tried to do that, that's what I would do. I would allow him and I'd get him to overcommit and then smash him on one side. And then locked on that and then pass like that. That's what I usually do with like the butterfly guards. I do two things. If you've got double unders, and we're here, I stand up to here, and I pin that here, and then I pull here, like that. If I've got the underhooks on here, actually, either way, and you start trying to take me this way, I try and hop, hop, there we go. So I allow him to take me that way just because I want to kill his legs at one point. And now once I'm here, I need to block this real quick and keep my weight here. Otherwise you're going to try and push me away.
You're really like just attacking those legs without looking like you're attacking the legs.
Yeah.
Those legs.
What happens is your legs get so good at like countering what his legs are trying to do. And like your legs become like hands and they start moving around on their own. So, the idea of passing the feet first and blocking the legs is to make them feel comfortable so they're not framing and so that they're welcoming you to get control of them. But let's say he's a bit smart or a bit dumb and he's just framing.
Okay, so no matter what I'm doing, he's just going to frame now. I'm going to teach you how to break those frames. Now, the worst thing for someone that's framing is to have an object that is constantly changing and moving. So, for example, if you're trying to pick up a, if you're on your back and you're trying to pick up a solid object, you want something solid. Okay, like you know when you're doing barbell and you're doing chest press, what is it called? Bench press. Same shit, doesn't matter. When you're doing that, you wanted a strong bell. If that barbell was made of water and was shaken, it would be near impossible to push it up, isn't it? So imagine the same sort of thing. If I'm a structured object and I'm trying to pass and get close to his guard, let's say it's from Z-guard, and he's just framing really hard. I'm just trying to push it, I'm pushing all my weight and pulling, but my body is just framed like this. It's going to be so easy for him to push. But imagine if I was a big ass water balloon and he was trying to push me away. What would happen? It would be like, whoop, 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 whoop. It'd be all flowing through. So like Bruce Lee used to say, be like water. Take that analogy and use it in this. If I'm strong and I'm stiff here, this is so easy for him to frame. He can sit here all day. But if I'm starting to do this kind of stuff, and I'm being really soft, and I kind of call it like a shimmy. who goes clubbing here and does a shimmy still? You know this thing? I hope no one does. Right. This is what I'm trying to do. Imagine you're doing like a shimmy, but like just insane, like shimmy like that. Like, you know, that's what you're trying to do. If he's framing here and he's nice and stiff, what I'm going to start doing is this. I want to get close to him. The reason he's framing is trying to keep me away from getting control of him. Sorry. He's trying to keep me away from getting control of him. Right? But if I can break it, try and keep me away. If I can start doing this and break this and I start getting closer, then he's in trouble, isn't he? So you have two options here. You have the option of confusing him and making him feel relaxed and waiting, and then maybe he starts trying to grab a hold of me and start attacking me, and then I can start getting things. Or, if he's just framing, what I want you to do is I want to try and get a hold of something and now start moving like this. See, I'm rolling my shoulders in. It's really painful on his hands to try and hold me back while I'm rolling my shoulders in like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'm here, and I'm, Who watched Aliens 3, I think it is? Who watched Aliens 3? You seen it?
I had the most
Is that the one where, remember he's like the owner, but he was a robot and he had to crawl through the tunnel? Was that Alien 3 or Alien 2, where he had to go like 2, sorry, Alien 2, sorry. And he's got, it's aliens, that's right. And he's trying to get through the tunnel and he's like crawling like that. That's kind of what you want to do. I'm probably the only person, there's only 2 people that understand what I'm talking about. So, Bishop, that's it. So you're going to be Bishop, you go through the tunnel, you're popping, but it's really hard for him to push me back now. That's how I kill people that are framing. I'll do the same thing in the gi. If it was the frame in the gi, I'd hold it across his gi. Okay, you want to frame, I'm going to break all your fingers now. Bang, 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 and get real close, then get a hold. So I want you now to go out with your partner and practice that. Your partner's now going to frame, and you're going to break those and get close and tight and get a hold of him. Any questions on that?
Are you doing anything with your hands? Are you holding his knees or anything, or just?
I still try and do the same sort of thing. I don't want him to get away with that, but I need to try to have something to pull myself forward as well. Because if I'm just holding his legs, I'm trying to push forward, it could be a little bit harder. So what I try and do is I try and grab a hold of something. So if he's framing, I try and get a hold of something. Either it can be his arms, his lower back, and then I start doing it. You're doing it because, one, like I said, they're either really smart or really dumb. They either know what you're trying to do and they're still framing, okay? Or 2, they know either way, they know what you're trying to do. And you don't want to do what they know what you're trying to do. If I know that someone knows what I'm trying to achieve, I'm going to change it. I feel, okay, I've done something wrong, I've telegraphed what I'm trying to do, I'm going to try and change it. But if you need to pass the guard, it's there. But I try and use the analogy of being like an anaconda. Okay, you know the anaconda, the snake? Or what they call a trouser snake in Australia. It doesn't kill you by squeezing really tight on you. Essentially it does, but what it does is it waits for you to exhale. And when you exhale, it tightens. Okay? And then you exhale a bit more and it tightens. So it doesn't kill you by crushing you, it kills you by suffocating you because you can't get any air in. And I like to use the same analogy with passing, is what you kind of want to do is you want to do that. You want to wait for them to make the mistake and to exhale. And as they do, you get closer and closer and closer until it's too late, they can't breathe and you've passed. Does that make sense?
Otherwise, then you can go start smashing through or whatnot if it's not working. But I always try and be as smart as you can with training. So now we've done the experimentation phase, okay? I don't know if I pronounced it right, experimentation. So we got to play around with that. We had the 5 concepts that I talked about. Now we're going to start trying to implement them into live training, okay? So having those concepts there is no good unless you start trying to implement them into live training. Until you get that good at it that it becomes autonomous, and then you can start going further and further. That's, like I said, the way I look at jiu-jitsu is I take the biggest picture concepts and I get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So now the little things are what fascinate me in roles. I won't be sitting there leaving and think, oh, I'm really glad that I submitted someone or this. I'm thinking, man, I'm really glad I got that underhook when he thought I was trying to go for an overhook. You know, when I try and confuse them a little bit. That's what I'm trying to find at the moment, okay? So what we're going to do with this live training is it's called specific training. We're going to have one person, well, we're going to have a few people, but the person that's out there is going to start in their guard. The person that comes off the wall is going to come out to try and pass the guard. You're going to start uninitiated. That means we don't start with grips, we start without. So if Hector's in the middle, Hector's in his guard, I come out, I touch his hands, okay, let's go. And I'm going to try and pass his guard. And he's going to try and sweep me. If he can sweep me, or take my back, or submit me, he wins. If I can pass his guard, I win. Or if I could take his back. I don't want you to sit back on leg locks at the moment. I want you to try and pass the guard because it's a guard passing seminar. So my goal is to pass the guard. His goal is to sweep, submit me. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
If he wins, he stays in. If I win, I stay in. We're going to start with on our back at the start, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to switch. We're going to come in for a bit of a Q&A and switch it up, and we're going to start with the person in the middle starts passing. So if you win, you start passing. Does that make sense? Now use this to learn, to play around with. Don't have to win. Try and work on the things we're working on. And think about things that didn't work for you. This is really important because so many of us go into training or learning new things, and we go, we train, we finish, we walk off, and we never really reflect on what happened. It's really important to reflect on what happened because then you can start learning from your mistakes. Jiu-jitsu is just taking calculated risks. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't. But if you don't focus on whether they paid off or whether they didn't and why, then you're not going to learn as much. So when we come back in, think about what happened. So if you have some questions, we can address it as a group and go further with that. Does that make sense? Yes, okay, if you guys want to get mouth guards in or whatnot, grab all your stuff and I want you to line up against the wall, please. Any questions?
I have a question. Would you ever bait if I go from the half guard to like your leg? Would you ever bait that so then you can fall on it and trap it, or not let it get?
Can you show me an example?
So from half or C, whatever, right? You put
Yep.
my leg up. I'm going here most of the
Yes.
time. Like sometimes people would just sit on this now.
Yep. I'll bait that.
Would you bait that? Okay.
Yes, definitely. If I feel like you're too tight and I feel like I really want to try and get past you, and some people are really good at protecting this bottom arm. And the reason why is because they want to make sure that if everything doesn't go to plan, they can always turtle away. The reason why I like controlling that bottom arm is because it stops them from being able to turtle. but sometimes they protect it really well. So to bait them in, what I do is I try and create an opening. You know, I try and show him a little bit of candy, and I hope that he's going to take it, and I'm going to capture that. So in this position, sometimes what I'll do is I'll bring this leg up here, and I bring it far enough back that I know he's really got to reach for it. If I bring it too close, he gets it, I can't block that, I'm in trouble. I bring it pretty far back, and then when he reaches, now I can get a hold of it. You try and pull yourself into that. Nope, and then I go, thank you. And now I've got an overhook on his arm, which means he cannot roll away to escape now. Now he's in a lot of trouble. I'm here, now I just get my leg out, I can start rolling this way, I can hop to the other side, but definitely I like to try and create those openings for people to try and grab a hold of it and then make mistakes.
Would you sit on it though when they grab? Just sit or no? Or just grab the arm from the tricep?
I prefer to try and grab the arm.
Tricep?
Yeah. You can sit on it, but you run the risk of them really pulling you up again, especially some people are so strong, and if you get someone like Craig Jones or something like that, got very long arms.
They grab the gi and
Yeah, I think it's better being safe. As soon as they grab it, block on, and then get your leg back.
I'm trying to get upper body grip sometimes on people, but like, I feel like my underhook or my waist grip will be like shallow, and they have too much like legs in the way. Like for example, like if you're trying to like do it from like Del Hiva or something. It's harder when I feel like there's distance. But I identify like the fact that it's valuable when I'm like, when I can get those grips, then I worry about the legs less because they're moving less. But I'm just curious like how you're accomplishing that from like.
Can you do the De La Hiva to me like you?
I'm not a really good Del Hiva guy, but I'll try.
The kind of the situation you're having?
Yeah, it's like.
Well, this is single leg X for starters.
Sorry, yeah. You can tell I'm not a good Del Hiva guy.
Okay. So this thing here. Yeah, so the first thing I wouldn't reach in yet.
Yeah.
Because at the start of the seminar I was saying, I want to make sure the first thing I take away is their ability to stretch me back. Yeah. And right now this is going to be able to do that. Yeah. If I'm trying to pass, and you start kicking this back, this is horrible for me. Yeah. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm either going to pull this in or sit over the top of it. Right. Okay, but then this becomes a problem. This is easy to deal with. You try and stretch me back now. Try and push me back, and I can dodge this and stuff. And what I try and get, usually try and sit it on here. But this becomes an issue here. So what I do is I flick my legs straight. So try and hold this on there. I go this. Yeah. And then when I do that, to make sure you don't come back in, I flick and I turn it out wide. Yeah. Okay, now I'll go to here. Okay. That's the only time I'll go. If I sit over, the same thing. If I sit over this and I sit here, and you've got this De La Hiva, I'll do the exact same thing, pop, and then come down here. But see, I'm here, and I'm not over-committing too far. Yeah. If I go too far, you can kick me up in the air.
Yeah, even this foot sometimes bothers me. They put their knee in my chest.
Yeah, right? So if they just start doing it, you need to start making, start collapsing on this side. Right. And now I'm getting closer and closer to here. This isn't going to hold, but I leave it here anyway because I want you to think it is. If I start kicking this leg out too early, you're going to escape. I want you to think this is going to save you. And then when I get to the point where it's like here, now you realise it's too late. Do you kick that leg out, the De La Hiva out like that?
Yeah, I do, but I'm probably focusing too much on the upper body too early.
Too early, yeah, mate. I always try. The first thing I try and focus on is getting past their ability to stretch me out. Yeah. So if you've got a De La Hiva, I'll still try and do this. Yeah. Now, once I feel like your legs, now I start trying to get in here.
And I guess when they're pushing, you need to like lean on them depending on the direction they're pushing.
Depending on what they're doing.
They still have some pushing ability here.
Yeah.
With my arms and maybe my knee.
So what I showed after that was how to smash those frames. So that's what I would do second. If I feel like they're really pushing and they're not doing anything else, then I'll start smashing these frames until I can get nice and low, and then get close and pass on you. Does that make sense?
So if I get in this whole position here, where I'm getting the legs.
Yeah.
Everybody, maybe it's just everybody's so aware of it, they're just kind of chilling out and hanging out, and not giving me anything. Yeah. But I want to execute that. Yeah. At all costs. So. How do you make them do it? I mean, is it just a situation?
So if you go in Israel, right, and you want to go through to, has anyone been to Israel? It may not happen to everyone, but if you've been to Israel, okay, the cameraman's been. So hopefully I'm right. But I spoke to a friend that went there, and their special forces were on the border patrol, and they put him aside and they said to him, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" So role play with me, okay? And I sit there, and you're coming through, and I say, "So what are you doing here?"
I'm vacation. Vacation.
So what happens? So then you suddenly want to fill these spots. So the same thing, good salesmen do it. I do the same thing in jiu-jitsu. So what I'll do is, Hector can borrow for a minute. Let's say Hector's really defensive and he's in there like this. I'll come in, I'll go this, I'll go. And I'll look at him and suddenly he's like, oh shit, I got to move. You know what I mean? Not only does it make him feel awkward, The referee, if you're in a competition, the referee's looking, he recognizes that you've made the move, and he's waiting for you. He'll be like, look at his watch, luch, whatever, you know, he'll make you move. So you want to learn how to make people move. And the good thing about that is usually they'll make mistakes. Because I do it in a situation where I don't give them anything. If I come in like this and I said, okay, that gives him something to do. But if I come in like this and I go, and there's nothing here for him to grab, suddenly he needs to take a risk to get any kind of control. So let's say he's protecting his underhooks and everything. For him to get anything, he's going to have to reach out. And look what happens as soon as he reaches out. Sorry, I fell back. Oh, yeah, no. Look at the space. That's what I want to get. I call it smelly armpits, okay? You ever gone to a club with smelly armpits and you're trying to talk to a girl and, hey, how are you? You never want to open these up. You're not going to go, what's going on? And like walking around, everyone's like, Jesus Christ. You want to protect those here, okay? Let's say I met you, I said, oh, how you going? What's going on? What's going on? How you going? I'm not going to be reaching out and letting the waft into his face. Yeah. The same thing I want you to imagine you have when you're passing guard. You've got smelly armpits. Some of you might be unlucky enough to actually have that. But I want to make sure, and he's usually going to make sure that he's protecting that. But a way to get him to open that up is by creating these awkward moments. So what I do is I come out of range a little bit and I wait. And there we go. The moment, and I'm so good at it because I'm used to it, the moment he opens up to stretch, I know that's going to come open. And then where am I? Boom. Suddenly I've got the most powerful tool in passing the guard, an underhook. So what you want to start doing, because I was wrong with you a little bit, and you went in there, but you didn't make me feel that way. You know what I mean? You made me still feel like you were moving. So I was watching you. So what you want to do is you want to put the ownership on them. I do the same thing with wrestling. If we're wrestling, I'll do the same thing. If he's really protecting, I feel like, okay, there's nothing open, I'll go this, I'll go. And then suddenly he's got to open up and then I start moving around and try and make something happen. But I always try and make them move. The good thing about that, is you start learning how people move. I used to play Australian rules football, and I remember every pre-season when we get there, and there'd be one dude, he'd come out and he'd be overweight, he's just smoking a cigarette and eating a meat pie at training, and I'd be like, oh man, this guy's going to be shit this year. And like we do a beep test where you've got to get over 13 to be fit, and they'd be doing like a 2.5 or a 3. But then game day would come and they would get more touches than anyone else. And I was thinking, how are they so good? He's so lazy, he's unfit, but his ability to read the play was incredible, probably because he was lazy. Well, the ball was going across there and everyone, including myself, was running after that ball like this. He's sitting there, he's watching it, and he gets over here by himself and it goes doom, 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 bang. He takes the mark, no one on him, kicks the ball while his opponent was chasing the football. So the ability to read a play goes far beyond just football into jiu-jitsu. But to do that, you need to start looking at how your opponent moves. And a good way to do that is by making them move. I always try and allow somewhere for them to escape. So this is an example of it. When I come in, I go like this, okay? And I make them move, make them make mistakes. The other time is if I'm in a control position, I'll usually leave one exit for them, but I'll know what that exit is. And when they go for that, that's when I'm going to catch them in the next thing, because I'm already a step ahead. So instead of holding them completely tight and not knowing which way they're going to try and escape, I'll leave one exit open. I do this a lot with side control, where if I'm in side control and I'm playing, I do this. Okay, so I'll give him the option to turn in towards me. So then he starts turning in towards me and I turn around and he comes up to his fours and there's a guillotine or something. So I try and suck into getting that position, or, as an example. But learning how to read a play is so important. Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do means way of the intercepting fist. And the philosophy behind that is waiting for your opponent to strike and then striking with something better. And the same sort of thing applies with this kind of movement. Is what I do is I create a moment and I wait for him to strike, knowing that he's in an awkward situation where he doesn't have anything to really damage me with. The moment he strikes, I go. The reason why that is so good is because his point of focus has changed. At the moment when I'm moving around, he's looking at everything I'm doing. He's watching me. So it's very hard for me to get something behind, like something past his eyes. Does that make sense? Because he's watching me. It's like playing slaps. If we're playing slaps and he's sitting there watching me, this game we got to go slap. So I got to go this. If he's sitting there watching me, it's very hard for me to get him. But if he was sitting there talking to you, it'd be easy for me to slap him because I've changed his point of focus. So when I create these movements, Psychologically, what I'm also doing is I'm stopping him from looking at what I'm doing and starting to get him to focus on what he's about to do. So then when the moment he strikes, he's not thinking about me, and that's when I attack. Same sort of thing happens in MMA when you see a big knockout. They're doing, the guy thinks, this is what happens, the guy's like, okay, I'm gonna throw my right, left, and he's just thinking about himself, and then boom, he gets caught. Because his point of focus wasn't on him. Very rarely is the guy watching him and sitting there getting boom, boom, bang, 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 knocked out. You might get jabbed and stuff, but very rarely do you get really knocked out clean. It's a punch you don't see coming that knocks you out. So what I'm trying to get him is I'm trying to get him to change his point of focus from me onto himself. Because that's when I can start slipping things past him. Does that make sense? It's on a very psychological level, but it is the most important level in jiu-jitsu. Just most people don't really think about it in that sense. Most people are very linear. They think techniques, what technique can I use? But the most important thing is timing. And timing is your ability to deceive your opponent. That's why I say to people, my technique is not that good. Most of the things you would have saw when we're rolling, and you'll see when we start rolling again, is shit I'm making up at the moment. But usually it's well-timed shit, okay, which works well. You can have the most precise technique, but if you're predictable, it's not gonna work. And you can have some weird shit that I do that happens to be unpredictable that works. I see this a lot, and I get this question a lot. And I had a girl message me the other day. She's like, "Kit, I'm trying to practice learning how to shoot, but I'm drilling it more and more because I'm not getting it." And I say, why aren't you getting it? She's like, "I'm not fast enough." And I say, I could put money on, it's not the fact you're not fast enough, it's that you're telegraphing what you're doing. And then you're drilling it even more, so you're creating more of a habit, and you're telegraphing it even more. What you want to do is you want to learn how to set that up. For an example, if Hector, if you're standing up for a minute, if I want to shoot on Hector, and I'm thinking very linear, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to shoot here. That is so hard for me to get that, just by shooting. Imagine how quick I'd have to be to get that before he can stop me. In slow motion, this is what's going to happen. Bang, smash me. So what I need to do is I need to set it up. I need to think, how can I get Hector in the position where he's basically, I'm Hector right now, where he's like this. Okay, so if Hector's going to shoot on me now, and my legs shoot on me, he's going to smash me. Okay, I'm going to go flying. So I need to get him into that position. How can I set that up? One good example of that is by snapping him forward. If I snap him forward once, he's going to worry about going forward. I go this, boom, boom, and then he starts worrying about that. What do you think he does to react when I do it the next time? He stands right up. He wants to try and fight that. He doesn't want to get slapped to the ground. So I will set that up. So I go, boom, he stands up. Now look where I am. Right here, there's no escape from here. It's not my ability to shoot in my speed, it's the way I set it up. If I can set up something really well, I don't need to be fast. That fat dude that was playing football, he didn't need to be fast. He was over here, he set it up so well, and he watched, bang. By the time he got it, he had 15 meters, he could run around, kick it. And I played with a lot of guys like that, because their ability to read was so good. So, I guess what I'm really saying is those concepts and these ideas and these philosophies are really what take someone from being really good at jiu-jitsu to being unbelievable at jiu-jitsu. Your ability to trick your opponents. Does that make sense? Any other questions before we go back into the specific training? Cool, we're going to do the same thing, but this time the winner starts passing guard. So when you come off the wall, you go into guard. Does that make sense? Okay, grab a drink of water or your mouth guards or whatnot, and then line up and we'll start again. 1, 2, 3, go! How's you got implementing that stuff?
It's tough. Still want to go to my A game.
Yeah. And that's why specific training is really good. That's why I spend probably, realistically, 80% of my training would be specific training and 20% would be free rolling. Because it forces you to practice the stuff that you need to practice. It's very easy for us to go out and start getting beaten in the game we need to work and then go, okay, I just want to go back to winning. This happens a lot when you look at the talent code. And people that are labelled as talented, you very rarely reach their potential because they get attached to the idea of being talented. And when that happens, you like the feeling of being called talented. Has anyone ever been called talented in any field? It feels good to be called talented. And it's very addictive. And then you no longer like to be known as a hard worker. You want to be known as that guy that's talented, the guy that's good at everything he does. So then you don't spend as much time training. And when you are training, you spend more time trying to look good and win than what you do trying to learn. George is a great example of the opposite. George has been training for how many years?
That's 4 years old.
Since you're 4 years old, for 50 years probably. You've been training a long time, but I train with him, man. He's got no ego, no nothing. He just rolls, lights, he'll let you do stuff. And he's a big boy, man. He can turn it up and smash when he wants, but he doesn't do that because he really understands what it is to learn and to drop your ego. A lot of us, not of us, but a lot of people don't. They get attached to the idea of being good at something and it really stifles their learning. I can't remember why I got on this subject, but...
Because he's a game.
Ah, yes, that's right. So it's important for us to structure your training so that you are getting the best out of it yourself, rather than winning. Otherwise, we get sort of caught in the habit of trying to win rather than learn. So I think specific training is really good. I'll do specific training like this most of the time because it's one of the most common areas. And then I'll do specific training just on the feet, just wrestling, or just judo with a gi, or 50-50, or certain areas, even more specific because I need to force myself to learn. And I need to be honest with myself in what I need to learn. Otherwise, I'm just going to be hiding my flaws and trying to look good. I think, deep down we all want to get better at jiu-jitsu completely. And this is why I don't understand the whole steroids thing. And I'm from Australia and we have a different culture, I guess, than what a lot of others do when it comes to cheating to win something. I don't understand. I couldn't live with, I could live with myself, but I couldn't be happy with myself knowing that I got this medal through cheating. I want to get it, honestly. And that's why I don't even, it's not the only reason, but it's another reason why I don't even train conditioning anymore. Because I want to know if I win something that it was me that won it, not just my athleticism and my fitness and my conditioning. I want to know that was my ability to deceive the other person, to win that game. That's the reason why I won it. I feel like if I was to do steroids, or to be completely conditioned and win on athleticism alone, I wouldn't be happy with it. I could have that medal and everyone else could look at me in a different light, but I wouldn't be happy with myself with it. So that's why I like this training. It's very easy just to set it up and go, okay, if I lose, who cares? We start again. And it also gives you a lot of time to reflect on things that didn't work. That's why when I bring us in, I ask you guys because I think it's really important for you to have something. Even myself, even if I won every single roll, there's still a lot of things that went wrong that I'm like, okay, I made this mistake, this happened, I need to fix that. So it's a cool thing when you come in and you can ask those kind of questions. Any other questions?
For clarity, specific training, what do you have in mind? I'm going to do these, I'm going to do this sequence of movements in this training session, that's it. I'm going to execute this.
No, not so much, because I feel like that you become rigid when you try to force something on. What I'll try and do is I'll feel like I need work in a certain area. Like I don't really feel comfortable in a certain area, and I don't have any answers. So I'll go in that area, and I'm just going to throw myself in there and see what they do. And it really depends on who I'm rolling with. If I'm rolling with you, it's going to be very different to if I'm rolling with George, or if I'm rolling with Hector, or something like that. So I don't try and think I'm going to go in there, I'm going to just do these 1 or 2, 3 things anymore. I'm just going to throw myself in that area and see what I can come up with. I feel like if I try and force something on there, it becomes mechanical, not organic. And to get the best out of yourself, it has to be organic. You can't force someone into getting the best out of themselves. This is why I'm not a big fan of the industrial age system. The industrial age education system was designed to create factory workers. Okay? It needs to be completely revolutionized into an agricultural model. One that you create an environment that gets the best out of your students, because it has to be organic. I cannot force you to get the best out of yourself, but I can put you in an environment that gets the best out of yourself. So that's why I don't try and force my techniques on anyone. I try and give them an idea of what's going on in my head. What is my ideology on this? How did I come up with those techniques? Because it's like business. There's no straight road to success. Not in any field is there a do these 10 steps and you're going to be successful. And jiu-jitsu is the same. You can't just say, okay, do these 10 techniques amazingly and you're going to be successful. Not at all. You're going to be able to demonstrate those steps, but it doesn't mean it's going to be successful. You have to learn through trial and error. You have to go out there, you've got to make all these mistakes, take risks, you learn from them, and then suddenly if you keep doing that long enough and you learn from your mistakes, you're going to end up being somewhere near successful. And the same thing happens in jiu-jitsu. So the best thing we can do is just go out there and take calculated risks during training, make as many mistakes as you can, but learn from them. And eventually you're going to get to know jiu-jitsu pretty well. And I feel like that was a big reason why I excelled really quickly, because I wasn't really paying attention to the techniques the coaches were teaching me. Not out of disrespect or anything, it's just jiu-jitsu for me was like, it's my baby. I want to learn it, and I want to figure it out myself. This is my problem to solve. And with the teachers giving me the techniques, I kind of felt like, well, I feel like I'm cheating. It's like doing mathematics and you're having the answers in the back of the book. That's all good until you sit a test and you don't have the back of the book. And you need to know that formula. I think we all know that. If you're anything like me, I used to cheat all the time in maths. That's why I'm shit at maths. But we've got calculators, so I get away with it. So I think it's really important to figure that out yourself. And eventually you're going to start realizing what these concepts and principles are and figure out how to change the application yourself. That's why, like, every role I did then was quite unique. It had its own unique signature. I had the same principles that I was running by, but the application is different because it's organic. It's like improv. You can't force a theatre actor to work in improv unless they're trained in improv. Otherwise, they're going to struggle. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's very organic jiu-jitsu, and everything is always changing. So it's very important for you to become a very good problem solver. Not just have your dance routines and try and impose your will. Otherwise, you can do that and you can win jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu is a very short match. It's like a sprint race, like I said before. Jiu-jitsu is really a marathon. You're trying to use as little energy as you can to defeat your opponent in the long run. But then when you've got jiu-jitsu competition, you've got a tiny little window to win, then it becomes it's an entirely different art. It becomes very sport-like. And jiu-jitsu is an art. So as much as they work well together, they're also quite different. That's why sometimes I get questions from people online, and I say, what is your goal? Is your goal to win a world championship, or is your goal to understand jiu-jitsu properly? Because I'll give you a different answer. If it's to win a world championship, I say, okay, get as fit as you can, get as strong as you can, get a handful of moves and go and impose your will. Does it mean you're going to understand jiu-jitsu? No. Are you going to be the best coach? No. But you're going to win some medals, and you might market yourself well and make some money. But if you really want to learn jiu-jitsu, it's a different story. Any other questions?
I know you don't necessarily do something specific each time, but do you have a favorite submission that, no, nothing specific?
Nah, that's the hardest thing.
Joy?
I mean, I think I enjoy every submission. I enjoy the submissions that I get when I feel like there was no force needed. Like when I surprisingly get them, oh yeah, I got you. Sometimes I'll be in a transition and I'll get a choke from the back or something. I'll be like, oh man, I was really happy about that. Yeah. But if I took you back and I was forcing on the choke, I probably wouldn't be as happy. So, and it is a really important thing when it comes to submissions, and I feel like the best submissions are the ones that are during transition. Because when you have a controlled position, people change their focus to what they're doing to what you're doing, and they're watching everything you're doing, and they start figuring out really quickly what dangers are there. For example, if you're on mount, I'm like, okay, I've got to be careful, I don't get armbarred, I don't get triangled, I don't get Americano or something like that. If you're in side control, say I don't get V-locked, I don't get certain things. If we're in 50-50, I don't get ankle locked. But when we're in a transition, I'm focusing on what I'm doing and you catch me, that's when it's really nice. Yeah. That's why most chokes I get is when I don't have your back. It's during a transition. Because when I have your back, what do you do straight away? You're like this. But during a transition, that neck's open, and I go, boom. I do one, can I borrow you for a second, Hector? When people shoot on me, so let's say slow motion, Hector shoots, I go to here, and see this arm's already here? Yeah, and I get this choke. Then I start jumping towards the back. And it's already quite tight. If I just pull this like that, you can feel it touch, Hector. So things like that I find a lot of beauty in. Because that's the best time to get something. Because it's like MMA. It's the punch they don't see coming that knocks them out. It's the submission during those transitions when they're not focused on that you usually get really clean. All the takedowns or everything. It's within the chaos that you catch people. If you hold that position, they're going to figure it out. If I get on his back, it's going to be very hard work to choke him. If I can choke him. What I'm better off doing is setting up something else and transitioning to something else and trying to catch him off guard. So when it comes to what favourite submission, this is the hardest question I get when, especially like jiu-jitsu articles and stuff, so what's your favourite submission? So I don't know, it depends on what I can get. You know what I mean? I don't focus too much on the submissions. I try and focus on the control, and I try and get them to make mistakes and catch whatever I can see happening.
The concept rather than the technique.
Yeah. Any other questions? It could be on anything. This is the last part of the seminar, so George.
What kind of position do you don't like to stay in?
What position don't I like to stay in?
Yeah.
Well, I don't like being under mount. I don't like being under any control positions. I think positions where I'm being stretched out, I feel most uncomfortable, especially in the gi, because I'm quite short for my height. makes sense.
What about you?
I'm short for my weight division, so I play a tight game a lot better than what I would play a long game. So any kind of style where they're stretching me out, I find a lot of discomfort. That's like with me and you, Roll. I'm trying to, as much as I can, get as close as to you, so I can't, because I know that if you stretch me out, I'm going to be like a parachute just floating in the air and get submitted. So I think, in terms of, I know that it was more positional, but I think inside the position, anything that's stretching me out, I feel a lot of stress with. Even like for gi, standing up and people push me right out, I've got like little T-Rex arms and it's kind of hard to reach anything or try and kick, and I've lost matches because of guys have been able to stall out and just hold me at bay, and then I make a mistake trying to overcommit, and I lost the Abu Dhabi trials 1 year for that. I beat the guy 7-0 the round before, and then fought him again for the trip to Abu Dhabi. And this time he didn't pull guard and didn't do anything. He just kept holding me out. He was really strong, and I was doing no gi the whole time. And because it was in the gi, I was just a little bit unfamiliar with how to break the grips.
Just send that up, keep your weight.
Yeah, and I pulled guards, but they were never really good guards, and I was the one attacking. I don't know how I lost the match. The main referee gave it to me, but the two outside ones gave it to him. But as a good example of somewhere I don't like being.
For sure.
More than ethic. But I try and, there's not too many positions I don't feel uncomfortable with. And I think because I like playing with, anything I do feel uncomfortable with, I try and play around with it a lot.
Yeah.
A little bit of a random question, but so when you're not training, so I think the best way to work on something is, like you were saying, organically. Don't go in with a complete plan, but go in with a philosophy of what you want to do. But when you're not able to train, like say you're on the road or you're traveling and you want to work on your game a little bit, the thing that I find hard is you tend to like look at videos and watch matches, and then what you do is you start looking at specific moves and then trying to replicate it. So you end up being overwhelmed, right? Because there's 72 moves and you come in and you're trying to do all of them and you get nothing out of it. So like I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, what do you do when you're on the road or when you're not able to get in and do that organic training? Is there anything you do to complement it?
Well, I think you're right with watching jiu-jitsu is really important, especially if you can't train. But you got to be careful on what you're observing. So I wouldn't get sucked into what techniques they're doing, because the thing is, there's so much information that goes in your head, especially in a jiu-jitsu match with top guys. They're taking in all this information, things that you cannot see from where you are, and then they're coming up with the solution. And the problem is, what you're doing is you're taking that solution and you're having none of that information. So it's like success. Like for example, George kills it in cryptocurrency, right? And he's got more money than I probably ever had in cryptocurrency. If I was to take his techniques and try and apply them, I wouldn't get the same success as him, because he has so much information on all that kind of stuff and all those factors and all this information that he uses to come up with that solution. So for me to get the same solution, I would have to have all that information. So I'd be selling myself short, thinking that I can just do the same things that he did with different currencies and get the same result. I have to learn what's going on for it. So the best thing he can do is teach me what he knows on cryptocurrency and then get me to make my own decisions. So the same sort of thing I try and figure out when I'm watching. I go, what's the one thing that he seemed to control? What was the one thing that he seemed to control? Was it the distance? Was he taller? Was he shorter? There's Marcelo Garcia versus Leandro Lo. Was Leandro Lo able to stretch Marcelo Garcia out and have the advantage? Was Marcelo Garcia able to do this? I would look at little things like that. And then if I was looking at a technical basis, let's say I'm looking at the Miao brothers and I'm thinking, okay, I want to learn how to defend their berimbolo. It would be no point to sit there and watch the whole berimbolo and try and break it down like that. It's just overcomplicating stuff. I would look at one thing they need in every single berimbolo and take that away from them. Maybe it's one arm. I know the berimbolo, and you have berimbolo on the left arm, it's always the right arm they reach up and try and grab the gi or the belt with. If you take that arm away, it's very hard for them to close the distance. So I know that if I'm going with something like that, if I just control that one element, it's going to take away their ability to do what they want to do, their A game. So then you start figuring little things like that out, and then you become a very good strategist. Because you can go against someone, and instead of going against George, for example, and have to deconstruct his whole game, I can go, okay, I know if I control his left foot or his left toe, it takes away most of his stuff. If I do that, I'm going to be pretty safe, as an example. So I would try and look at it more like that. If there's very specific things and positions you're in, there's no harm in having a look at techniques. But what I would try and get is I would try and get someone that can articulate why they do those techniques rather than how. The why is far more important than the how. If you know the why, you can take that how and you can switch it, you can change it, and come up with 10 different hows. if you only know the how, it's only as good as that one time. Does that make sense? Thank you so much for coming down. This jiu-jitsu is not a very, what's the word? Not a very wealthy sport. And it's very hard to make money. And without you guys supporting us, you know, the way you guys do by coming to our seminars and learning from us and us being able to teach you, we wouldn't be able to have a lifestyle of jiu-jitsu. So I thank you very much for coming down and supporting. I really appreciate that. And I really hope you got something out of that. I promise you everything I give you is exactly what's going on through my head. If you have any questions or things that you forgot with the seminar, feel free to send me a message and ask me questions. I'm on Facebook, Kit Dale. I've got a page, profile. Instagram, Kit Dale Official. Browsers, Kit Dale Unofficial. There's only one sick at the last group. But no, otherwise, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Let's get together for a photo, and then that'll be it.